Silverized Society.
Welcome to another round of everyone's favorite game show. The game show which is sweeping the nation, sweeping the international audience. It is Nietzsche Roulette here on the Silverized Society. I am weary.
Wow.
And tired. Go ahead. You
are-
take over the intro.
Yeah, I have to take over the intro because we're like 2 episodes into Nietzsche Roulette and you're already degenerating live on screen. The people aren't paying to see that, nor are they subscribing for free to see that. What they come for is the wisdom, the minds of the Silverized Society, and how we analyze Nietzsche. That's what Nietzsche Roulette is. We pick a random passage from the Bible of Nietzsche and we interpret it, discuss it, deconstruct it, or completely misunderstand it and enrage people on the internet. All of those are good outcomes in my book. So let us begin with our random number generator process. I feel like I'm on a game show, like a Nietzsche game show.
That's what you are on, you fool.
Nietzsche show.
Generating random number sequence now. Generating
Nietzsche.
261. This is, now, you're a little bit flawed in your introduction, but so we're using this book. I mean, it's not one book of Nietzsche. This isn't his book with everything in it. So people need to know who are following along. Human, all too human, and book 1, not book 2 of this book.
You think they maybe were confused when I said the Bible of Nietzsche, that they were like, yes, the Bible of Nietzsche. I know that work well. You thought maybe that I confused them with that one?
I am weary of your words.
I'm weary of the world and your words.
261. Okay, now, this is an example of the game, how this is flawed. Because 261 is our number. However, it is a passage called The Tyrants of the Spirit, which is you. But it's a full page and a half long. So this is where in the game of Nietzsche Roulette. Huh?
Get to reading.
We normally generate a different number if it's too long of a passage.
That's
but I'll
the
leave it up to
roulette
you. If you want me to
side.
read an extremely long passage, your call.
No, we don't have time because we buy the cheap version of Zoom. So roll along.
Generating number 212. Let's see here. Suspiciously close to that one, but the range is set here. Let's see. 212. Okay. Old doubts over the effect of art. Are fear and pity really discharged by tragedy, as Aristotle has it, so that the auditor goes home colder and more placid? Do ghost stories make one less fearful and superstitious? It is true in the case of certain physical events, the enjoyment of love, for example, that with the satisfaction of a need, an alleviation and temporary relaxation of the drive occurs. But fear and pity are not in the sense needed of definite organs which want to be relieved. And in the long run, a drive is, through practice in satisfying it, intensified, its periodical alleviation notwithstanding. It is possible that in each individual instance, fear and pity are mitigated and discharged. They could nonetheless grow greater as a whole through the tragic effect in general. And Plato could still be right when he says that through tragedy, one becomes generally more fearful and emotional. The tragic poet himself would then necessarily acquire a gloomy, disheartened view of the world and a soft, susceptible, fearful soul. And it would likewise accord with Plato's opinion of the matter if the tragic poet and with him whole city communities, which take a special delight in him, should degenerate to ever greater unbridledness and immoderation. But what right has our age to offer an answer to Plato's great question concerning the moral influence of art at all? Even if we possessed art, what influence of any kind does art exercise among us?
Excellent.
This is
point,
right up
Nietzsche.
your alley. I mean, this is you, right?
This is me. So he's throwing some shade at Aristotle, right? Because there's this idea that, I think it was Aristotle's idea that, well, maybe not specifically his idea, but the word catharsis comes from this idea that through experiencing the mood of a piece of art, so whether tragedy or comedy or whatever, you release that emotion. So it's a kind of catharsis. You're going through the process of having that emotion without actually having to experience a true tragedy in your life or be funny or something. So Nietzsche is saying, not so fast, Aristotle, because in some cases, an expression of a certain drive heightens it. And so we have to wonder, is that where the emos and the scene kids, the goths, have the goths proven Nietzsche's point? Is that through the repetition of an emotional experience, it grows stronger? So if you read sad poetry, do you just become sadder? The goths say yes. Nietzsche foresaw the goth subculture.
That's an excellent analysis. You win this round of Nietzsche Roulette, honestly. Good job. And it's right here reinforced in this line. The tragic poet himself would then necessarily acquire a gloomy, disheartened view of the world and a soft, susceptible, tearful soul. I misread that. I said fearful soul. Oh. Tearful soul. That's the Goths.
Yeah.
Right?
He was... He premeditated the emo and the goth subculture. Amazing. Once again, Nietzsche, the Bible. Okay, it's the Bible. Don't let anybody be confused, but it is kind of the Bible. So what? What do you have to say? Do you think he's right, or do you think there is a catharsis? Because I do kind of think there is a catharsis. I fucking feel it. When I watch a scary movie or I watch some kind of emotional movie, I walk away from it feeling as if I've participated in that experience and all I did was passively follow along. But I have this invigorated sense of, I want to connect with someone. I want to do something that, brings me a rush of adrenaline or whatever. Why do you look at me like that?
I'm just looking at the world like that at all times, constantly just
slightly
scowling at things.
Disgruntled, yeah.
What you're saying is correct, but he actually encompasses that already in this line. And in the long run, a drive is, through practice in satisfying it, intensified. It's periodical alleviation notwithstanding. So that's what you're saying. So you go watch Friday the 13th or whatever and then want to go out and do something, like skydive or something. But he's saying, and so this is why I think that he's correct, and let's take it to horror movies.
Okay.
Right? So you could watch a horror movie from the 50s or 60s or something. In terms of the intensity of the violence and the gore, it's lesser than what we would see now. And so you keep on pushing that limit. And in the moment, like The Exorcist is a classic example. The Exorcist was so frightening for people in movie theaters, supposedly, this may be an urban legend, that people actually were passing out, throwing up, like going into fits in the movie theater and had to be taken out. I think this is actually probably true. It is a frightening movie.
It's so funny.
If you watch The Exorcist today, it is still actually holds up.
It's intense, yeah.
It is. But now you need something even more hardcore, right? So the point is that, yeah, temporarily you can alleviate this. You can have a temporary catharsis, but it's like a drug. Now you need a little bit something stronger to get you to catharsis the next time until you just keep on going. And if that's true, then God help us all, because that means that ultimately what people would need, let's say, in the realm of horror movies, is something so vile and such an atrocity.
Well, this is the plot of the movie that you will not let us cover because you don't like the director. What's the one that did like The Fly or something? What's his name? Cronenberg?
David Cronenberg?
He did the one that has Debbie Harry in it.
David Cronenberg, I said.
Okay, yeah. I'm saying he did a movie that has Debbie Harry in it. And
okay, well, you asked the name of the director. I'm telling you.
Okay, and I said yes. I acknowledge this is the name, but I'm moving on to the actual point, which is I can't.
You mean Cronenberg?
Oh my god.
Just fucking with you now.
We're
yeah,
both
go ahead.
weary now.
Whatever. So you're gonna tell me about
What's
a movie that I haven't seen?
VHS.
I don't know. This is your point. Why do I have to tell you who it is and what the movie's called? Am I psychic?
Because I don't remember facts.
Great. Well, so let's move on then. So
anyway,
there's a movie
the point of the movie is that like everybody is so overstimulated that they end up watching movies that are just snuff films, like literally people being killed on film, and they're like,
Right.
yeah, it's interesting because it's like everybody's
Scanners? Is that what you're talking about? Where
What-
people's
what-
heads explode? Scanners?
so no, it's not it.
Well, whatever. Yeah, we can watch it at some point.
But it's
I
the
mean,
point that you're making. I mean, this seems like a cultural concern, right? There's this idea always that what is it that we're heading towards because we're progressively desensitized as time goes by. So what's the end game? And like on the one hand, I do kind of side with Aristotle because I do think that there is a role for that kind of catharsis. And I think
know the end game, and I'm going to tell you right now. We have a little bit of delay on the Zoom. This isn't just me willing to interrupt you all the time. I just like to put that out there publicly, that I'm not purposely trying to interrupt you constantly. It's just a delay on Zoom. The end game is the metaverse, all right? The end game is, what's the thing with the Tesla guy? He's going to put the wires in your brain.
space. No,
Neuralink.
That's what. Yeah, that's it.
I'll deal with the facts. Thank you. The end game is we experience atrocity ourselves for fun, for funsies. That's what, if this is correct. Now, I actually don't think this is going to happen, but if this is correct, right, you would just need to immerse yourself more and more
Yeah.
in the actual experience. So then at some point, we move from some 1950s horror movie, we move into the 70s, things get a little squirrelier. We move into now, things are squirrelier. And then it's like, okay, we can't depict anything on film anymore that's grotesque beyond imagining, right? And then we're like, well, what's next? Well, what's next is, they put the visor over you and you play a zombie video game or whatever. And you need to take in more senses. Do you see what I'm saying? So what if that's the thing that's going to happen? What if you're going to go into metaverse horror world?
Jesus.
It seems
God
obvious
help
to me
us
that's
all.
what's going to happen.
The movie was called Videodrome. That's the Cronenberg movie. I want to cover it.
Good.
This is literally what it's
Thanks
about.
for the fact. We just did.
The thing is that I rebuke it, I reject it, I resent it, and I resist it. I don't want to live in the metaverse. I will unplug, okay? I'll unplug. I'll fucking do it. I'll destroy my digital empire in the making because I like reality, okay?
No, you don't. And you won't know. That's the problem. You'll fail again and again, and everyone else will too. Here's the reason why. Because it's the year 2022, isn't it? And 10 years ago, if someone had told you that you'll spend as much time as you do on your phone and on Zoom, on this whatever this fucking software is, you would be like, I don't know. That seems a little bit far out, you'd say. Because it was 10 years ago and people used the phrase far out back then. But you would say, no. And then 10 years before that, in the 90s, when I was rocking out, I would have been like, what? A phone with pictures on it? Social media? I don't know. I wouldn't know. I don't know. And so you don't know what's coming. And the thing about the future, I'm a futurist, as some know, like Friedrich Nietzsche. The future doesn't come up on you all at once. The future is like somebody coming up behind you and slowly strangling you. That's what the future is like. You don't know. All of a sudden you're sitting around and you got a phone in your hand and you're on Instagram all the time. You don't know. It just, one day you may realize it, but it's a slow progression. So at some point, 10 years from now, you'll be out somewhere and someone will be like, hey, just check out this visor. It's really cool. Put this on and check this out. And you'll be like, okay. And you'll experience some virtual reality thing for 5 minutes. You'll be like, that's kind of cool. And then Mark Zuckerberg, is that his name? He'll send you a free visor or whatever through Amazon.
Enough.
This
it's
is
not
going to
accurate.
happen. You don't, because the only way to avoid it is to go completely off the grid. You have to start to become someone like me. You're too integrated into society to avoid it. See, you have to be ready to just take your bag of rice and oats into the woods and hole up. Otherwise, you're a victim of history.
Well, I will not be, a victim of history nor of the future, okay? And what you have to do to not be a victim of time is to grasp it yourself and to decide where it will go. God damn it. And I decide that I'm not going to the metaverse. I don't want it. I don't fucking want it. Look, the whole point is to make your actual life enjoyable, so that the idea of like staring at a fake world for hours is grotesque, detestable, and a sign of the end times, as it rightly is.
You don't do that now. If you took the amount of minutes in a day to which you actually enjoyed your actual physical world and you put that up against the amount of time which you quote unquote enjoy your world virtually, I bet you already it would be equal, if not more. I mean, look, what do? Like, you walk outside and like some sun shines on you for like 10 minutes. You're like, I got my exercise today. We're already the cyborgs. I'm telling you now, it's already, I
look at the hawks.
I don't know, man.
I look at the hawks. I see them flying outside my window, okay? I have them right there. I don't need the metaverse hawks or whatever. I have them right there. They are all I need. Me, the hawks, real sun in your eyes in the morning because it helps your dopamine or whatever. Thank you, Andrew Huberman. And no metaverse. I reject it. Because I'm a contrarian also, so naturally I will reject it at first because it'll be like everybody's doing it, and then I'll just reject it. Eventually I'll look into it. But I think I would find it so grotesque that I will reject it forever.
It will reject you at first. So what happens is technology comes along and it's more expensive for plebeians. And so you don't have it, right? And so then what occurs is it becomes this object of desire because it's kind of expensive, and then I want, like, the iPhone. The iPhone used to be a thing where it was like, oh, you have an iPhone, that's like a fancy phone or whatever, and most people didn't have the iPhone, and now everybody has a, what do you call them, a smartphone.
The homeless have
I like to call them the smartphones, right? And so it becomes more for the masses, and then you get consumed. You're in the wave of it. Like, it's this, one day you're gonna wake up and you're going to be in the metaverse and you didn't even realize that you weren't asleep.
I absolutely no. I am in the Matrix, but like not in that version, okay? See our past Nietzsche Roulette episodes to understand. I will survive.
You're going to be in the metaverse with a gloomy, disheartened view of the world.
Goth.
You're going to be
metaverse.
in the Goth-verse.
In the Goth-verse. All right. Well, that's this episode of Nietzsche Roulette. Subscribe.
I'll conclude with this line and then let you do your little conclusion. And I'll say this.
I was doing it.
I know, but this is important. But what right has our age to offer an answer?
It's a good question.
To Plato's great question.
Well,
I was trying to wait until you taught to interrupt you.
Our age
Go ahead.
has podcasts, so that's why we have the right to answer Plato's great question. Because we have podcasts, Nietzsche. So here we go. So subscribe, like, join this podcast, okay? Because we're in the future. Podcasts are the future. They're the present. They're the past. They're everything, forever and always, but only this podcast. The other ones will fade away. They will be nothingness. They will join the metaverse. But you don't want to join the metaverse. You want to join the Silver Eye Society. That's the place to be. That's the place you will be. That's the place all people hope to be. So join us so that you can be part of us.